Welcome to House of Horns. It's week 17, and it's rival. Is it? I don't even know. Should I say, Victor? Rivalry week? Is it a rivalry? I don't know. But two LA teams are playing each other. The Chargers are hosting. It's really weird. Rivalry week. It's a rival. I don't know. Chargers hosting the Rams at SoFi Stadium. The Rams call it SoFi Stadium also home. But here we are, week 17. It's not a primetime game, Sunday Night Football. It's not even fight for LA. Who knows? But should be a good game. Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield. So I'm ready for week 17, the second and final game of the season. And on that note, I'm Gilbert Manzano, Rams beat reporter for the OC Register LA Daily News. And as always, joining me, Victor Javier Corona, Victor producer, all the titles. So maybe I should ask you, Victor, is this a rivalry? Is there something going on here between the Chargers and the Rams fighting for LA at SoFi Stadium?
I was thinking about this because I needed to write some stuff about this matchup, and I was wondering, I was like, do we call it a crosstown rivalry? No, because they're both at SoFi, so there's no crosstown rivalry there. And then I finally just went with the battle for LA. I figured, you have two teams that moved. The Rams were here, so were the Chargers. At one point in LA back in the day, and now they're both back. They're sharing a home, so let's go with the battle for LA. How's that, Gilbert?
I like it, but how about I tweak it a little bit? How about the battle of the counties? There are different counties, Orange
Right,
County, Ventura County. None of these teams play, or train in LA County, but
LA.
the facility, I mean, the SoFi Stadium is in LA County, but the facilities are in Orange County, Costa Mesa Chargers, and the Rams are in Thousand Oaks, Ventura County. So it's weird if you're a
Yeah,
Rams fan from the different state, you're not from LA or maybe even from St. Louis. Am I even allowed to say that? I don't know. It's a weird dynamic here in LA. That's why we're not even sure like if it's a rivalry because the other tricky part too, Vic, they're not even in the same conference, not
right,
divisions, none of that. They play each other once every 4 years, and they could play each other in the Super Bowl, but that's not gonna happen this year at
right.
least. But just once every 4 years, and I don't know if it qualifies as a rivalry because even like the Clippers and the Lakers, they play each other often. The Kings and the Ducks play each other. The Angels and the Dodgers play each other every single year. Freeway Series. This group here really doesn't, but who cares? I'm pretty amped up for it because it feels like there's something to play for. Like the Rams could spoil the Chargers' hopes to get in the fifth seed, so there's something there, right?
Right. No, and just talking about that, there's other things to, this you can make it into a rivalry, I think, if you they should schedule this as a preseason game, and that way it turns into that. That's kind of like I know some cities that have two teams have done that, like the New York teams back in the day when it was the two Bay Area teams between the Niners and the
Yeah.
Raiders used to do that. So you might, they should kind of do that just to have a little bit of a rivalry flavor to it. But we'll see it as these two teams kind of entrench themselves in LA more years as we go forward from now on.
Yeah, as they say, 1 week at a time. So here we are,
Right.
week 17. But as you know, Victor, I like to get the viewers of House
Yes.
of Horns, the listeners of House of Horns, engaged. So the
Yes.
engagement question of the week, I got greedy. I had a bonus one too. So the first one for the engagement question, again, just when you hear the question, give me your thoughts in the comments of the video. Let me know what you think here on YouTube, and if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, maybe you can find me on Twitter or just come to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and leave a comment here under this video. But the first question, kind of a two-parter. Do you want running back Cam Akers back for another season with the Rams? Remember how ugly he got earlier in the year? He wasn't playing well. He left for a month. He was shopped around the deadline, came back. Now he's balling out. But also, do you want him back? And do you want him back as the number one running back, your lead back? Like him number one and probably Kyron Williams number two. Are you okay running this back with that too? A combination there. And the bonus question is because you asked about this, Victor, at the post-game show after the Rams beat down the Broncos, which we're doing pretty well with the views there. I'm glad to see that. It makes me happy on the post-game show. Uh, is Tyler Higbee the greatest Rams tight end of all time? That one really got me thinking. Like, is he really Higbee? Like, can you think of another name that we're forgetting here at House of Horns
Yes.
that has done better as a Ram, a tight end, because Tyler Higbee set the records and for receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. So who could do better than that? Let us know if we got it wrong, or if it's Tyler Higbee, just reply Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, no, and those are really good questions because number one, I mean, if you're asking me in terms of Cam Akers, you still have another year with him. So, I mean, he's still under contract, so you might as well run it back with him. And then Tyler Higbee, I honestly need to do my research on that one because honestly, I don't want to just say, yeah, it's him just because he has all the records. I mean, we've gone in the last 10 years where it's become a passing league. So, he has all the stats right now. So as of right now, we'll say yes, but please let us know. I mean, we want to be proven wrong here, and so if you have another name as a tight end, I'm sure back to the 60s, 70s, or 80s,
Yeah.
especially when they went to the Super Bowl with Vince Ferragamo, I'm sure you can let us know. So yeah, those are two very good questions, Gilbert.
How about test your knowledge? Who was the starting tight end for the greatest show on turf?
I honestly don't know, because I
You
I
think about the
remember all
receivers.
the I remember all the receivers like Isaac Brooks and Torrey Holt.
Yeah. Okay,
So
but then also too, I don't know. I always find it tricky with the St. Louis stuff and the LA Rams
yeah,
stuff, but I feel like people don't mind the kind of blending the histories there.
yeah,
But yeah, give us your comments here on those two questions: the Cam Akers being back as the lead back, and is Higbee the greatest tight end of all time in franchise history? But before we get to news and notes, Victor, we got to do some promoting here.
yes.
We gotta get some money here and get to the Super Bowl. The Compas need to get to the Super Bowl. So as always, we try to let you guys know about our collab, our partnership with Homage. There's a link right there. Victor already has it out for the best Rams gear. Go here or just you know the link is in the description. So just click the link there. You'll make it much easier, or just bookmark this. And if you have a birthday coming up, you got to buy a gift. Buy them a Ram shirt from Homage. We get a little cut there, and we're using that money to save up to get to the Super Bowl. Be on Radio Row. Has got some great interviews on Radio Row, or just to buy some equipment. So we really appreciate the help there. And Victor, let the viewers know and listeners about all the content we have on the Compas on the B Network.
Oh wow! I mean, with all the breaking news coming out, we got into a bunch of stuff on Compas on the Beat. Gilbert and Fernando, we're talking about the Niners and the Bengals. The Bills. All we got you covered with NFL takeaways there. We also got into the avocado rolls. When is the last day you should put your Christmas tree and Christmas lights away? So we got into all that. We got COMPAS FC. They're still putting out content out there, even though the World Cup is done with. We also got you covered. I know our Andy Ruiz video
Yeah,
interview that Gilbert and Fernando did. That one's doing really good for what is it again, Gilbert? What's
come
the
back, Compas.
Combat Compass, there you go. So we got there's stuff coming soon. I know they haven't done. I mean, somebody got arrested, so I'm sure they'll be talking about it. Somebody got arrested last night, so I'm sure they'll hit on that topic in the new year. So we got a lot of stuff for you. Am I forgetting another one? What's up, boats? As they are also previewing. If you want to
Yeah.
get the enemy side of things, go and check out Fernando and Dan and Dago. They got you covered on What's Up Boats. I'm sure. Are you making an appearance over there as well?
Yeah, I was gonna actually announce that we're supposed to have Fernando Ramirez on any minute now. Fernando
Right.
Ramirez covers the Chargers for the Sporting Tribune. I'm sure the name is familiar for House of Horns viewers and listeners because he was filling in when you were out
Yes.
for a couple of weeks. So Fernando is back. That's his specialty. That's his bread and butter. Is the Chargers beat. So it'd be nice to get his point of view when we get to the storylines for the Chargers here on the program. But yes, after we're done here recording, it's my turn to return the favor, and I will be joining What's Up Boats. Make sure you to subscribe that for that. If you have maybe again, like I always say, Charger players in fantasy football, or you just want to hear what Dan and Diego and Fernando are up to, and I'm sure when I go over there, Victor, Dan and Diego is gonna have a lot of, I guess, what
A
should I
lot to
say?
say.
Lots
A
to
lot
say,
to
put it that
say.
way, but he's gonna probably throw a lot of shade my way. But that'll be
Yeah.
fun, and we'll
Yeah.
get Fernando on soon. Hang
Yep.
tight. But I'm ready to move on for news and notes, and
All
before we
right.
get to storylines.
All right, here we go. Give us what you got from for news and notes from practice. This I know we were talking off air before we got on about a couple of things going on with the Rams. So
Yeah.
let the folks know what's going on.
Yeah, the big one, which is kind of fitting because he used to play for the Chargers, but one of the biggest news items that came from the week was Ode Abushi. He won his appeal. He was suspended for a game because there was punches thrown after the Broncos game, altercation with Randy Gregory, his name is. Yeah, I should know the name. Both of
Yes.
them got suspended, but it seemed like Ode was going to win the appeal because Randy Gregory threw the first punch and Ode was trying to walk away. I don't know what happened with the talking there that got Gregory so fired up to throw a punch on Ode, but he actually won his appeal too. So both players won the appeal. All they got was a fine. So that's big for the I'm getting confused already. That's big for the
Oh,
Rams. Ode Abushi, he's already filling in for Coleman Shelton at right guard because Coleman is playing center because Brian Allen is hurt. As you guys know,
right.
there's a lot of injuries on the Rams offensive line, so they really need Ode to play against Khalil Mack, Kyle Van Noy, and the boys over there with the Chargers. So that is the first news item. And then don't ring the alarms. Tyler Higbee did not practice on Wednesday, but it was only a
Right.
walkthrough and it was a veteran rest day. So he should be able to go against the Chargers. And then Ty Nsekhe, the left tackle who's been filling in, was sick today, but supposedly he should be ready to go. Before I get to the last one, Victor, anything you want to say about the two news items there?
No, I know we're bringing on Fernando pretty soon, but as we were talking about names for this rivalry between the Chargers and Rams, I saw Jeff Miller that this is the Gilberto Manzano Bowl since you cover both of these teams. So
Yeah.
when we bring on Fernando, I'll ask him about that if that's the bowl. That's
Yeah.
what we're gonna call this
The,
rivalry now.
the Gilberto Bowl, sponsored by COMPAS on the Beat.
There
I'm
we
cool with
go.
that. But the last item here, this is probably old news, but one we didn't get to when we were recording last week. Yeah, don't expect Aaron Donald back. He will not be returning. It sounds like, according to Sean McVay, he said probably not gonna come back. So he wasn't practicing today. Don't worry, Chargers fans. Aaron Donald probably won't be on the field. He's not coming back. I don't think so. So forget about that. And he's going to be joining Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Allen Robinson, Ashawn Robinson, a bunch of people on the IR list there. So don't expect Aaron Donald. Uh, Victor, I'll ask you this for the Rams storyline. Should I keep Fernando waiting while he hears me mumble and give a bunch of gibberish? And or do we just bring him on so he can hear
Yeah,
me?
let's bring him on. We don't want to keep him waiting.
There you
He's our special guest. So let me go ahead and add him on here. Here we go. How you doing, Fernando?
go. Are you like a
Thank
robot?
you. Thank you for having me on, guys. Gilbert, by the way, I owe you some. What? You said a lot of names there.
Yeah, I
There was
did.
no what, so I owe you some whats.
Wow. Okay. It's like
And
it's a reaction for you, right?
exactly. And yes, this is a Gilberto Manzano Bowl. Sean McVay, Brandon Staley will fight toe to toe. Baker Mayfield will go up against Justin Herbert to win the love of one journalist for this game. So, yes, this is a Gilberto Manzano Bowl presented by COMPAS on the Beat Network. Unofficially, Modelo as well will be sponsoring this game.
Oh, hopefully that's when you know you're making the big bucks there. But Fernando, supposedly we might be able to talk to the Brandon Staley tomorrow, the Rams reporters. And if we get Brandon
Ooh.
Staley on, I'm hoping that he, for old time, says Gilberto instead of Gilbert. Is there a bet you would like to take for what he calls me,
I'll say he calls you Gilberto. What
Victor?
does McVay call you now?
He goes with Gilberto.
Oh, wow.
He guess I think he got it from Brandon Staley. So, but remember, Brandon Staley changed his mind halfway through last year, so I'm kind of really curious to see what he says.
That's what I loved about those Monday press conferences is that every single time he would call on you, he would like decide which one am I going to call him today.
I know, and it always kind of caught me off guard when it wasn't Gilberto. But Fernando, we're gonna get to Charger storylines. I want to get your thoughts on Baker Mayfield because you actually dropped a nice little take there on COMPAS on the beat. So when I get to the Baker Mayfield stuff, you could probably take that away if you want. Victor, obviously give your input here, but from the Rams storyline, real quick, the young guys need some love. We kept saying it last week. Bryson Hopkins, a third-year tight end, was barely playing, was getting no snaps. Tyler Higbee, the greatest tight end in Rams history. I don't know what you want to say about that, Fernando.
3 touchdowns.
There you go. Or
no
two.
Touchdown. Oh, yeah, 2 touchdowns. No touchdowns have been thrown at a tight end. And look, here comes Baker Mayfield, and he has a relationship with Tyler Higbee already.
That's the greatest duo in NFL history, maybe. But yes, Bryson Hopkins.
First you shake, and then you bake.
I would love to know if they have like a little thing like that. But Baker Mayfield loves the tight ends, man, and that's why Bryson Hopkins got involved playing that 12 personnel. You know, the little 2 tight end sets. A guy like Laurel Murchison. Hopefully, I get his name right. I have not seen this guy in the locker room. I need to talk to Laurel Murchison somewhere. 2.5 sacks. So pretty good by him. Kobe Durant, the rookie, got 2 interceptions. So these young guys, man, they might make some noise against the Chargers. We'll see. When it's a Broncos and the Chargers, different levels. But maybe the young guys keep it going. But to get to the Baker Mayfield, because that's 3 games now he's played. 2 have been, I guess the first one wasn't that great, but he had a great finish. The second one against Green Bay, nothing really happened. Maybe we could blame that on the offensive line. He got hit 9 times, got sacked 5 times. That third game was real deal legit. That was a good performance right there. So maybe we could do a little quick roundtable there. Like, what does that mean for Baker's future? Fernando, do you think he goes somewhere else, or when you see things like with the Raiders, the Jets, the Steelers, or even the Titans, does he go take a job and try it somewhere else?
I wouldn't. I mean, there's something going on here where it's working with both of them. I don't know if McVay simplified the offense. I don't know what it is, but here you could really learn in a year you could learn a lot from Sean McVay, from this system. And that's the thing, is that you've heard me, Gilbert, for years talking about how in college they don't teach you how to be an NFL quarterback anymore. They teach you how to win at the college level. That's why when guys like Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, guys who understand how to read a defense, how to make the plays on their own, those guys are unique now. These other guys don't know how to do that kind of stuff. I mean, that's why you see Heisman Trophy winners like Baker Mayfield, like Kyler Murray struggle when they come out. They don't know how to read the defense properly. That's why this kid from USC, he scares me a little bit, Caleb Williams. He's very talented, but can he do it on his own? Can he go out there and tell me who the mic is, what the corners are going to do? That's going to be interesting to see. In the Super Bowl, we saw Jared Goff, 15 seconds, the microphone cuts off. The Patriots would switch their defensive scheme, and they would flip everything, and he didn't know what up was down, up was left was right. He didn't know. So if I'm Baker Mayfield, I stay 1 year with Sean McVay. I learn how to be an NFL quarterback, and I say, teach me. Maybe he could be the Danielson to his Mr. Miyagi. He could learn from him. He can grow with him. And, hey, guess what? Next year, Cooper Kupp comes back. Allen Robinson comes back. Tomorrow's not guaranteed for any of us, but tomorrow is not guaranteed for Matthew Stafford. He could retire. You don't know if this could be a job for you. What if and this is another thing that I said, what if he tries to Andrew Luck it during the they go through training camp, and at the end, Matthew Stafford's like, you know what, dude, my body just isn't reacting to everything. I'm out. But here you go, plan B. Plan B stands for B for Baker. You have Baker Mayfield, you play him. So in my opinion, I think Baker needs to stay with the McVay system. Don't try and find the easy way out and go take one of these jobs. You have to be like a head coach. You have to analyze the job and make sure it's the right job for you. Do they have weapons? Do they have an offensive line? Do you see a future? Do they have a good head coach? Those are the things that he's going to have to analyze. But I think he should stay in the system that he is now.
Andrew Luck, I like that. But Victor, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Fernando. I mean, it makes total sense. You take your year kind of like, you know, when you get to college, everybody tells you, and I've heard this after I graduated, was like, oh, I believe that people should take a year off after high school and decide what you want to do. Don't go straight into college. I think the same thing applies here with Baker Mayfield. Take a year, learn the system with McVay, and then pick and choose where you want to go. Like he talked about, you can go wherever you want. I've seen this work in other places where you have a first round bust, go somewhere, spend a few years, learn under a really good coordinator or head coach, and then they go and they blow up somewhere else, and their career takes off. We've seen it with guys like I'm like blanking on his name right now, but we've seen it before. I know Rich Gannon. We've seen it with other quarterbacks in the past. So Fernando's right. Take that year with Sean McVay and learn under him.
Even a guy like Ryan Tannehill kind of made it work for a little bit, something like that.
Yeah.
But I guess on that way, we'll segue for the Chargers storyline, and we'll kind of blend it a little bit, Fernando, and you take it away from here. But so many kind of little reunions here, like Sean McVay, Brandon Staley. I don't know if I could count this one anymore, which I'm kind of bummed. Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey, really close friends, but Derwin James still in the protocol. But or maybe even like Herbert facing Staley's former guys. Is there? Do they know how to?
By the way, I thought it was so funny that Brandon said after the game he's in the protocol, but he's dancing and celebrating over with his teammates. I'm like, okay, and you see him in the videos, and he's in a Santa hat, jumping around, hugging guys, like high fiving guys. So you're like, wow, okay, this is that was pretty funny.
You think he plays?
No.
Okay. All right.
I just don't think there's no reason to risk him. 1, 2. I'm not trying to say anything because I think Derwin James is the best safety in the NFL. Your defense is playing well without him. Guys like Alohi Gilman are starting to show up. Guys like Nazir Adderley are starting to show up. Let those guys get a little bit more because come playoff time, Derwin's not going to be a safety. Derwin's going to be a linebacker, and I think they're going to need Nas, and they're going to need Nas and Alohi Gilman back there. So Alohi's really grown in the last few weeks without Derwin back there. So I think they should let Derwin rest one more week. Let him get obviously get out of the protocol, get well, and then come play a half against the Broncos. Sit him, and then you wait until the playoffs because as of right now, you're playing Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is not going to be an easy team to go up against.
Go ahead.
I have a question for you, Fernando. What's changed for this defense? They struggle. We've talked about it on COMPAS that Staley. This was the reason why he got hired was because he was a defensive coordinator. And what has finally worked for them where they put it together the last 3 games? They're averaging about, I think I saw 11 points a game. They're allowing 11 points a game and holding teams to 250 yards per game.
The names I keep on hearing are Khalil Mack and Kyle Van Noy. Khalil Mack has been taking the guys, and I found this out a while ago, but they've been having a team dinner every Friday. They get together, they have team dinners, and then Kyle Van Noy in the last few weeks, he didn't know how to be vocal. He's like, you know what? I'm a new guy. I'm struggling. Kyle Van Noy struggled at the beginning. He wasn't playing very well, and the last few weeks he's really put it together. Well, he's been having special meetings with the defense, and they've been having player-only meetings where they break down film, they break down different things, which is what Brandon said from the beginning when he got here. He's like, if the players lead the practices, I'm fine. If they lead other things, I'm great. Because Brandon at the beginning was like, I want he got 1 year of Casey. No, he didn't. Oh, I can't remember who it was, but he was like, I want these veterans to lead practice. I want to be able to lean on these guys and them tell me, hey, coach, this is what I'm seeing. And then Brandon's going to be like, okay, you're seeing that, but boom, let's integrate that. So that's basically what's been happening in the last few weeks. Kyle Van Noy's really stepped up into that leadership role. By the way, Kyle Van Noy's been playing a lot better. In that Indy game, Kyle Van Noy was all over the place, whether it was stopping the run, whether it was getting the pressure on Nick Foles, he was all over the field. So those are the 2 names that I keep on hearing, that this defense really come together behind those 2 veteran guys, and that's what's really helped mesh them together. And another thing is, I know people don't want to hear this, but the subtraction of a certain defensive lineman has helped integrate. No, and I'm being honest, because Braden Fayoko wasn't playing. Braden Fayoko now gets thrown in there, and Braden Fayoko looks like one of the best run stoppers in the NFL. He's really getting in there against Derrick Henry. Him and Sebastian Joseph Day were just collapsing the offensive line, and they were able to stop the run like that, and that's really what's helped them out. guys like both of them, Morgan Fox, another guy who's turned it on. So definitely it's been a team effort, but that defense really has, and then the secondary as well is playing extremely well as of late as also.
Fernando, that's another reunion. Morgan Fox, former Rams player there. So
And he's got what does he have?
Yes,
A
4,
champion,
5,
dog, right?
champion
6.
dog. Yeah,
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But go ahead and say the
I
name.
completely
Jerry Tiller was a guy. He was a addition by subtraction, right? That's what the saying is, right? Jerry
Yep.
Tiller,
And then Isaac Rochelle just joined the Raiders as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Former Chargers going to the Raiders. But Fernando, you know what you tell me is doesn't sound good for the Rams offensive line. They finally had a really good game. I wrote about it today. Plug. LA Daily News, OC Register. They didn't allow a sack against a very good Broncos defense. I know they don't have the same pass rush after they got rid of Bradley Chubb. Mayfield only got hit one time, and that's where they got 42 points. So I guess, yeah, or because one of them was a pick six. But they had their best offensive day, because Baker was, upright. Cam Akers was hitting running lanes. So, but then when you're facing Khalil Mack and Kyle Van Noy and this really good Chargers defense, suddenly, Fernando, I'm really surprised. This defense is playing really well. They turned it up against the Dolphins, the Titans. Who did they play last week? The Colts. So they're really picking it up. So that can be good news there for Baker Mayfield. We'll see what happens there. But let's flip over there. Fernando, Justin Herbert in that offense is really strange. Like Herbert, like when you watch the highlight throws, he's still that guy. And today, as you know, Fernando, Sean McVay had some nice words to say about Justin Herbert and also Baker Mayfield too. So he's still that guy when it comes to the throws. Not many people could make the throws that he could make, but that offense, the numbers overall, even with Austin Eckler and Keenan and Mike, they can't figure it out. So, they're facing a very young Rams defense, but still Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey are out there. What do you kind of see here, and what's going on with this Chargers offense?
It seems to struggle, and obviously it's the scoring points, but they thought, well, if we get in the red zone and we run the football, maybe we can score more touchdowns. It's worked. It's helped a little bit, but they're just not scoring, and I don't know what it is. And then Brandon Staley comes out, and he's like, oh, well, I'm not worried about it. And you're like, but, dude, this has been happening now for a couple of weeks. It's not just the last couple. And then you ask him about the third quarter offense. The third quarter offense has not scored a touchdown since week 5 against Cleveland. And you ask him about it, he's like, I'm not worried. We're going to figure it out. Well, dude, like the final's coming in 2 weeks. Like you haven't even studied for the test. It doesn't look like you've even it doesn't even look like you've improved at all in my class. How am I going to trust you to do it to go take this final and pass it? So that's kind of the question marks that we have right now. And now you kind of have to look, and it has to be Joe Lombardi who gets the fingers pointed at him, because what like the play call just looks a little bit too basic when they get down in the red zone. And you kind of thought, well, maybe when Donald Parham comes back, the defense it'll get more complex. Maybe they can throw to him. It hasn't worked the last 2 weeks. Well, maybe if they do this, it's going to help. It hasn't helped. So I don't know what they need to do. I don't know if they need to grab the playbook that Mike Manny Smith said is like the menu from Cheesecake Factory, throw it all the way and start over, because they need to do something, because that offense, once it gets in the red zone, something happens where they just don't click. And I don't know if it's getting back to basics or what it is, but you have Mike Williams, you have Keenan Allen, you have Gerald Everett. You should be able to score the football almost at will, especially when you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert. But it just hasn't happened, and that's kind of concerning, especially because when you get into the playoffs, Kansas City scoring almost 29 points a game, Buffalo scoring 28 points a game, and then Cincinnati scoring 27.8. So, I mean, you're going to have to score a lot of points to keep up with those teams, and you just don't know if the Chargers can do that, especially with the way they're playing offense right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird dynamic. You have all the players back, and they're still struggling. Like even that Tennessee game was low scoring. The Colts game was pretty ugly.
And that was another thing. We got told once these guys come back, the offense is going to get fixed. Well, the fairy godmother hasn't come down and used her magic wand to fix it. Like, you guys have to do it yourself. So, and they keep on saying, well, it's coaching. Well, it's the players. Well, it's all of us together. Well, you guys need to decide which one it is, because it's coming down the wire. And that's why I had said that's why I told Dan and Dago on the Chargers on What's Up Bolts, plug. Yeah. Gilberto will be on there. That's why I said in the podcast, these next 2 weeks, that's what you need to do. You need to be able to figure out this offense in the next 2 weeks. If not, you're going to be in a lot of trouble come playoff time.
Go ahead, Vic.
I'll add this because I watched that whole Colts game and I watched the game against the Dolphins. And one of the frustrating things watching that game, especially on offense, was how much they target they do. And I saw Charger fans get frustrated with this. Was the tight end screen was one of them, and then him not putting Herbert on the run either with bootlegs or with rollouts is just frustrating. So I understand where you're coming from and where Charger fans are coming from.
He has a nasty stiff arm, by the way. That one against Tennessee at the end of the game where he just shoves the dude off and then throws it to Mike Williams. I'm like, damn, he has a nasty stiff arm. So I mean, that Herbert can do it, he can do it. It's just you need to be more creative with him. Use him on the run. Let him do different things. And that's the thing. You haven't seen the creativity there, and that's a frustration. And that's why some people think that maybe even if the Chargers made the playoffs and they get kicked out in the first round, maybe Joe Lombardi could still be let go because of the lack of creativity that the offense has shown this whole season, basically.
Yeah, Fernando. I wonder now if they because they clinched a playoff spot, they play more loose and free against the Rams. Then I know Rams fans don't want to hear that, but maybe they kind of just start playing kind of backyard football, and it does well for them. But we'll see what happens on Sunday. Fernando, I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to mention? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to go. I appreciate you guys having me on, and Gilbert, I hope you're ready because there's a certain individual that wants to talk to you.
I know. So I'll try to wrap this up and go out over there to your show on What's Up Boats, and hopefully wait. He's nice to me.
Before you go, Fernando, plug away, man. Like, tell us what you're working on. What do you got coming up?
So for the Sporting Tribune, obviously, I'm working on a story about Kyle Van Noy, about the leadership and everything he's been doing. But yeah, definitely, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see this Rams and Chargers coming up, and then obviously on What's Up Bolts, Dan and Diego and I will be talking to Gilberto Manzano from the OC Red Shirt LA Daily News. What's up, bro? So we'll be having him on the show, and it'll be a lot of fun because when you get those two guys together, and imagine if you got them together with some beers, it'd be even funnier. But obviously, we can't do that yet. But definitely appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you for your prediction, Fernando, but I don't want to spoil your show. What's up, both? So don't give me your prediction.
No, and I mean, I don't even. This game is gonna be honestly, this game is gonna be wacky. Like, I don't know. They should have saved the Nickelodeon slime for this week and all that stuff because I think this game is gonna be nuts. I think it's gonna be on steroids. But I definitely see the Chargers winning. But I just don't know if they can fix the offense in 1 week. But we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely excited to see Jalen Ramsey and Bobby Wagner play because I think those two are two of the smartest defensive players in the NFL. And you know me, Gilbert, I love defense, so I'm definitely excited to watch them both play.
Well, thank
you.
You,
I know you got to go, and I know Gilbert we're here on a time crunch, but how happy were you guys that it got moved to 1 o'clock instead of having to do it at 5 p.m. Sunday night?
Do you know what time I get home on those Sunday night games?
I know. That's why I'm asking.
I'm pulling up at 3 a.m, so I'm like, and then Eric Williams usually is with us, so I feel bad for him because my good friend Eric Williams needs to be in bed by 8 p.m, not at 3 a.m. So obviously we need to get him in bed earlier. So kudos to the NFL for noticing that Eric Williams needs to be in bed earlier. Gilberto has a deadline, and Fernando just doesn't want to be out at 2 a.m. Unless it's certain activities going around. But those activities, no, thank you.
I think you're gonna be disappointed, Fernando, because you're gonna be out on New Year's Eve having a time of your life at a club, and
I'm good.
Get home at 4
in
the morning. You want to do Sunday Night Football? Be perfect.
You know what's funny? I haven't made it to New Year's probably in the last 3 years. I fall asleep before New Year's, before the 12 o'clock. Okay. So I fall asleep in 2021 and I wake up in 2022.
There you go.
Feeling good about the future. So we're all good.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon on What's Up Boats.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Take care, bro.
All right.
There you go. Fernando Ramirez, man, bringing the knowledge for Rams fans. For the enemy side there. But Victor, I'm ready to move on with the show here. I always feel like I'm on the other side. There it goes.
There we go.
What do we have next here?
We have player matchups to watch. What do you got, Gilbert? Or you want me to start us off?
No, I could do this. For player matchups, I'm actually very intrigued, and Fernando kind of touched on it a little bit, but the Chargers have a very good receiving trio. I know they don't get as much love as other receiving trios because maybe because they're missing some speed. But Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Joshua Palmer. Josh Palmer is a second-year player who did pretty well when Keenan and Mike were out. So to see Jalen Ramsey, Kobe Durant, and Troy Hill against this receiving unit should be fun, especially for Jalen Ramsey. Like I know he doesn't shadow too often unless he really like pounds the table for it. I feel like he might be more on Mike Williams because Mike Williams is a nightmare matchup for anybody. But also Keenan Allen just gets open. He's a crazy route runner. But I feel like maybe a guy like Troy Hill will start on Keenan. But when Mike Williams gets going for this Chargers offense, and I was gonna bring, that's one thing I forgot. I was gonna bring it up to Fernando. It feels like when Mike Williams is on the field for Justin Herbert, those crazy jaw-dropping throws occur more often because I feel like Herbert's like, F it. Mike Williams is up there. He has a massive catch radius, and only Herbert could throw that ball, and only Mike Williams could catch that ball. So that's going to be tough. It's going to be a very difficult matchup for Jalen Ramsey. I'm just intrigued to see it. And then Kobe Durant, man, the young guy's finally playing. He like they said enough with David Long. I know David Long was having his injuries, but he's been available. And Kobe Durant, they want to put him more in the slot there. Keenan Allen plays a lot in the slot, so that's going to be a tough matchup. He's going to be moving back and forth. So I want to see what Kobe Durant does. You know, I haven't kind of just studied the tape as much, but Kobe Durant makes plays. Is he a great coverage man? We're going to find out against one of the best route runners in the NFL. So I just love this matchup all around, just for the young guy, especially Kobe Durant. I don't know what's going to happen with Troy Hill's future, but they still are playing him pretty heavy, and they need him on the field.
And this is a great test for that young secondary, man. Like especially coming off what they did against the Broncos. I know their offense hasn't been that good this year, but you know, on that pick six, he read the route. I mean, he jumped on it and he went the other way for that touchdown. So I mean, he's been, you know, he's been a pleasure to watch this year, that's for sure. And then we'll see where Ramsey lines up. It'll be interesting if he takes on the challenge of taking on Mike Williams. And one of the things that I'm sure we'll get into in the offseason, especially with the Chargers, is this it for Keenan Allen? And one of the things that I do like about and one of the reasons Mike Williams is back on this team because he was a free agent was because Herbert wanted him back, and that's because of the connection that they have. Like that's his favorite receiver. I know Keenan Allen had like 10 receptions against the Colts, but
Yeah.
if you ask people like Fernando and yourself who cover this team before the Chargers before this year, it's Mike Williams. That's his favorite target. So yeah, and for me, my player matchup is Cam Akers against the Chargers run defense. So one of the things as we asked Fernando was, hey, what's happened with this team? How have they improved? And one thing that I still notice is that they're still second to last in run defense. You know, they are giving up a whopping 5.3 yards per carry there. So this is where you can attack the defense. And so if I'm Cam Akers, I'm looking for a big game from him. As we were talking about before we got on, I was asking you about the offensive line and where this offensive line is in terms of combinations. And so they've pretty much kept the same combination now. And if they can keep this up, I really like Cam Akers' chances to go off again in this game. So, and as we also talked about, he became the first 100-yard rusher for the Rams this season. So against the Broncos. So hey man, it's time to, as he said, piss on people's coffee and
Yeah.
cornflakes. So he's on that tour right now, man. That's what we're gonna call it, the Cam Akers piss on people's cornflakes and coffee tour.
Again, he's such a nice guy. He's giving you the option on what you want to have pissed on.
Exactly.
That sounds so weird to say,
Yes.
but yes, it's been good to see Cam Akers because you know I felt like I told people like in the summer like, hey, like Cam Akers is a dude. He's so much better than Darrell Henderson. This guy pops on the field, and it just didn't happen. And many people were mad at me like, oh, I drafted Cam Akers in fantasy football because of that stooge, and you got it wrong. But this is a dude that I saw in training camp, and he's having it. And it kind of is a reminder, like I know we all focus on individual stats and players, but like like it starts with the offensive line, right? Like you need that unit to produce. And oh, surprise, surprise, Baker Mayfield, Cam Akers are doing well because finally that's some stability there. And I'll get to the O line a little more, but I'm very curious, with this resurgence, or not, maybe I should call it, it's not a resurgence because the first time this Chargers defense is playing well on this daily, I feel like, because I covered that team last year. This year it took a lot of bumps and bruises, and like you mentioned, the run defense numbers are really bad. But do you throw away those numbers because the last 3 weeks have been really, really good defense? This could be a whole different unit, or is it kind of like, nah, there's still a very poor run defense? So I'm wondering how they attack that. That being the Rams with Cam Akers, like, is it kind of like, okay, it's a new look, like you can't really go off of the stats, or maybe they say, hey, you got to establish a run. Maybe they are still that kind of, that team that likes to let a lot of big runs. So that'd be a good challenge there. I do like that one, Victor, and my keys to this game will be very similar to something what you said.
Go ahead.
So the offensive line, that's where I keep focusing on, and it's kind of like every week we say you got to be balanced with the running game. Well, the offensive line has to protect. You got to give the running lanes all that, and it just kind of crazy to me, like it was surprising that they scored 51 points. They beat down the Broncos, but it's like that's what it's supposed to look like when you have a productive offensive line. A lot of things tend to go well, and for them, they just were never healthy. It was too much shuffling, and we spoke to Rob Havenstein, I want to say Monday on Zoom, and he's like, yeah, we're just getting repetition. We're getting familiar with each other. We know how to play together. We know how to hit the blocks. We know how to kind of go in, and then sync with the run blocking, and all that takes time. And when you have new guys every single week, it just took a toll on them. And now they have the same familiar guys. So maybe this one game against the Broncos is not a fluke. It's like they finally figure it out. But when Fernando's talking about how well Khalil Mack and Calvin Noah are playing, that could be a bad matchup for this offensive line here. And if it's just a 1 week kind of lucky performance, it could be a long day for Baker Mayfield, and it could be more what we saw in Green Bay. So that's my keys to the game, because we don't know what's happening with this Justin Herbert offense. Maybe they're gonna have a sluggish kind of outing versus Jalen Ramsey and Bobby Wagner. Who knows? But you can still count on them to score 20-something points, I feel like. But if your offensive line on the other side is not protecting, you can't keep up. So we'll see what they do, because they have their hands full, and they might be lucky they won't be facing Joey Bosa this week, or that could have been a real problem.
Yeah, and that's a really good keys to the game, because as I looked at the Chargers defense, especially, I kept looking at Calvin Fiocco. Is that his name?
Yeah.
I hope I'm not messing up. He had and he's made a big difference, as Fernando talked about, because he was the one that was on that 4th and 1 sneak play by Nick Foles. He stopped it, which, I mean, that was huge for them. So their run defense has gotten a lot better, but you can still attack this team. I thought another guy that kind of stepped up for them, I didn't get a chance to ask Fernando about, was Michael Davis. Is another guy. He's kind of taken his game to the next level, especially since they lost J.C. Jackson. He's a completely different player. But yeah, like it'll come down to and we'll be able to see if this run defense is for real, especially if the Rams can get it going. And for me, my keys to the game is pretty much keep things the same. I mean, run the same game plan you ran against the Broncos. What does Brandon Staley come from? Where does he come from? He comes from the Big Fangio tree, same as the guy from the Broncos. Use your 2 tight end set, your 12 personnel, as you talked about, Gilbert, with Bryson Hopkins, with Tyler Higbee. Get the best tight end in franchise history, Tyler Higbee, in there, and have Baker Mayfield target him, and then keep trying to run the ball with Cam Akers, and try to get Baker Mayfield on rollouts, and some bootlegs, just so he's able. It seems like he does better when he's on the run, so try to keep doing that, which worked out. I mean, what was Baker Mayfield 22. Was it 22 of 28 or 24 of 28?
24 of 30 or 20 and then 24 of 38.
Yeah,
Well,
and two of them
24
were
20. There you go.
Yeah, and two of them were throwaways that
Yeah.
he just threw out. So there you go.
One of them was that bank off the goalpost. That was crazy.
Yeah. So,
Supposedly he did it on purpose.
and I honestly, with the way quarterbacks accuracy is nowadays, because I've seen some videos from practice from some of the B reporters around the league, and those guys work on those kind of throws. So I mean, I know people are like, oh, and it was indoors. It's not like it was out in the cold or something where he's like, no, he probably did that on purpose too. So yeah, that would make sense. But uh we don't have Gilbert. We don't have our House of Horns mailbag because we asked Rams fans to let us give us some questions, but they pretty much just wanted a. They were still hyped off that win, and so they were just telling us how happy they were coming off that big win against the
That's good too.
Broncos. Yeah,
It's good
so
to see people happy and excited for a win on Christmas Day. I'm maybe it was a really like. I know people were kind of wondering what the attendance is going to be like, but I bet you that game was really like you're at home with your family. I bet you it was really like the viewership numbers, whatever. We're watching from home on TV. I'm guessing a lot of people watched that one. Everybody's a
25
day
million.
off. Yeah, there you go. That's a good. You're ready,
Yeah,
man. That's the number right
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
maybe that could be explained to our people were like watching all the videos because it's just like a game. Everybody's off, and they got to get treated to a 51-point outburst. And Victor, before we get going to the predictions, one thing about your keys to the game that I started thinking is like Sean McVay and the Rams knew this Broncos defense really well because Evero, coached under Sean McVay, and then like you mentioned, he still kind of runs the same concepts of the Vic Fangio scheme, so he played that well. So I wonder if he's gonna, like you mentioned, have a same blueprint, or would he kind of tweak it for what Brandon Staley likes to does? Because Sean McVay said, hey, like when we spoke to him, like, yeah, I know Brandon really likes the whole Fangio scheme, and that's where he comes from, but he's had his own flavor on it. He has his own spin on it, and like he's
Yeah.
aware of that, the way he kind of tweaks it. So I wonder if does he have an advantage because he knows how Staley operates. It's kind of like the teacher and the student. And McVay won that one last week with Evero. He might be up for a head coaching job, maybe even with the Broncos. So we'll see. But that was not a good performance for his defense. That doesn't help his cause to be a head coach. But we'll see what happens with Brandon Staley and Sean McVay. That's a really good matchup there too, in terms of the coaches.
And I like that you brought that up because I forgot. But one of the things I was really impressed with Brandon Staley, and I brought it up on regular Compas. We didn't actually bring it up during our recording, but we were talking about it before because I was like, man, like people need to start giving Brandon Staley credit because what he did against the Dolphins, where he took away the best things from that Tua like to do, and as you talked about, like he's added his own spin to that big Fangio defense. He did that in that game. He made some adjustments that were really good, and so we'll see what he does, what he has it for McVay, who is the master here. You
Yeah,
know.
and they really like to do a lot of different groupings. They just throw different guys, different combinations. The defensive line fronts are always different. Like it was hard for me when I covered that team to figure out what kind of alignment they're doing because it was always so different. And the Rams kind of do something similar here, so I kind of got some practice from that. But yeah, it should be a good little chess match between Brandon Staley and Sean McVay on that side of the ball, and also on the flip side, Justin Herbert against Raheem Morris's defense with Wagner and Jalen Ramsey. And yeah, I know the Rams are out of it; they're not playoff contention, but it's kind of nice to have a game with some meaning here because for this rivalry here, right? I should have asked Fernando, is it a rivalry?
Yeah.
If you really want, like what Cam Akers is saying, playing spoiler, like the Chargers are playing for the 5th seed. You're not trying to mess around with the Bills, the Chiefs, or the Bengals. You want the Jaguars. So there's some intrigue for that game there, where the Rams could be like, let's not send that team to Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, and it's not just like the whole Battle of LA kind of thing. It's there's some stuff going on with this game too because I know Fernando said that it might be a weird setup with everything, but look, there's a chance that the Ravens could lose two in a row, and if you're the Chargers, you're trying to move up to that 5th seed, and here are the Rams. The Rams can spoil things for both the Chargers and then the Seahawks who are trying to get into the playoffs. So
Yeah.
There you go. There is something.
Cam Akers
These two
quote.
games. Yes, exactly. So these two games are going to be pretty big for both those franchises.
Yeah. But Victor, I'm ready to close out this week 17 episode here. Rams, wow, 6.5 point underdogs here.
Yeah, and the over under went up. I guess I was wondering what that was going to do to the line, especially after they score 51 points.
I was gonna
And
say.
one of the and then I mean they pretty much went over. They had the over by what halftime.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but
Yeah,
Vegas did not see a 70-point total here, whatever that was.
yeah. Yeah, especially with the weather around the country. I guess they forgot that this game was inside. But same thing again. It's going to be over under a 41, and the Rams are 6.5 point underdogs. How do you see this game going, and what is your game prediction for this game?
Yeah, so I got the spread wrong and I got the pick wrong. It's been a long time for me to get that last week.
Same.
Yeah,
We
so I think I'm 10-5 on the picks. I want to say 6, 8, and 1 on the spread. Is that 15? 6, 8, and 1? Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing well against the spread, and I've been struggling there. But it's tough because like I want to pick the Rams one more time before the end of the season because I haven't done it since I can't remember, Victor.
Yeah.
But I had them against. I picked the Raiders and I picked the Broncos. I got both of those wrong. So this team is showing fight. They're doing it, and I think they'll be pesky against the Chargers. And also too, the Chargers are kind of maybe they'll let up a little bit because they clinch a playoff spot. Obviously, they want like the fifth seed, like we were talking about. So I can see if Fernando saying why it could be a kind of a quirky game. But the more I think about it, this Chargers team is clicking. They like the way they're playing defensively. Like again, I think Herbert might play free and lose, and Joe Lombardi might call a free and lose game because they clinch a playoff spot. So they're healthy. They have the most stars right now. So I'm going with the Chargers here. They're the home team too. I don't know. That doesn't matter. So give me the Chargers, and the spread is really bothering me. 6.5 is a lot.
Yeah.
Let's go 24. I feel like I always do this one. No, 28-24 Chargers. Rams cover.
Okay.
And let's see over. Yeah, I got the over. I think there'll be some points in this game.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Just a couple of things in terms of as if you're betting this game, just keep in mind the Chargers played on Monday night. When you play on Monday night and you're playing on a short week, that usually affects you. Just so keep that in mind. I mean, I know there's no advantage here because they're both the home team.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, technically the Chargers are.
Chargers travel though from Indy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, like I said, it's one less game, one less day that you get to practice and all that and let your body recover. And it does, unless you're a really good team like the Bengals and the Bills, those teams, it doesn't really affect them. And then one of the things I've noticed with the Chargers, especially against the Titans and then against the Colts, they keep teams around
They
and
do.
they allow them to come back, and I think it's going to be a close game. And if you're the Chargers, you do not want to let Baker Mayfield hang around. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with the Rams. I'm going to take 22-20. I don't know how I came up with that score. I'm taking the over on here, so 22-20, the Rams. I coming out. Maybe I'm buying into the hype. Now Baker Mayfield is going into his third straight game, fourth if you really count the Raiders game now. I really like what I'm seeing, and then what you're going to get from this defense. You're there. I'm talking as a person who gets to see this team from the outside, so you have a better judgment of how things are day to day there. But I just like what I'm seeing. I like the fact that the offensive line now has, unless you lose somebody on that offensive line, then in during the game, then you're screwed. But if they can maintain that offensive line and they can run the ball, I really like their chances in this game, and that's why I'm picking them, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of kicking myself because I kind of want to go that way, and this Rams team is improving me wrong, and I feel like there's going to be more like a motivation, like an energy boost because the LA factor there. Like if you're the Rams, you're not trying to give away the whole year to them. Okay, you're not going to the playoffs, and then they're going to beat you too at SoFi Stadium. Like I don't know, the Rams want to go through that, right? They won the Super Bowl, maybe they don't give a crap. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there might be some element there. Like okay, this team is going to the playoffs. They're in the same city. Let's not give them everything. Let's go and beat this team on Sunday, New Year's Day. So I could definitely see that, Victor. I would not be surprised. So that's a good pick by you. But I just keep seeing Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Khalil Mack. I don't know. But I can see something where like they kind of let up because they already clinched. So I could definitely see that.
By the way, if the Rams win this game, that means they're going to be 3-1 against the AFC West, the division that everybody picked to finish
Yeah.
with the with the best division in football before the season. So there you go, Gilbert.
And by the way, the Rams are no longer last in the NFC West. So that changes the whole schedule there because they were supposed to maybe go to Houston, Chicago. Now it might be Detroit, Indy. So something to kind of keep in mind if the Cardinals keep losing and the Rams keep winning, the Rams will probably get that third place schedule. So interesting stuff there.
That's something that you would keep in mind just because you have to cover
Traveling.
either be outside or inside. So
Yeah,
and
I think
Indy
I would rather go to Chicago and Houston. I think I like those cities,
right.
But that's a last place schedule, so we'll see.
Yeah.
The Rams are not trying to be in last place, but yeah, Victor, another good show. We have thank you to Fernando Ramirez. Little plugs for me before we get out of here. Check out my stories. OC Register, LA Daily News. I was working on a big story actually on the friendship, the close bond between Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey. I got to speak to both one-on-one. They were great, but Derwin James might not play, so take some luster from the story. But I still might just release it because there were some good quotes there that people should probably know about, and look out for that on Friday. But I was trying to blow up the story. Hey, put that on the sports cover, all that. But with Derwin not playing, it's not the same. But I still think it should be out there. I'll put that out there. And then obviously something on the whole Brandon Staley, what he meant when he was working with the Rams, because that the blueprint, the foundation that Raheem Morris kind of runs, they got it from Brandon Staley because McVay was like, hey, we want to do what he's doing. We want to keep that going. So that'll be kind of a story there. We'll talk to Raheem Morris this week. So plenty of good stories between these LA squads. So it's kind of nice to have a week where you have story ideas.
Yeah, no, and I was thinking about what you were just talking about in terms of Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James. I mean, he was tweeting during that Monday night game, and he was just giving them props, and and he got ejected, and he was talking about it on Twitter. He was tweeting away. So, yeah, that you're definitely gonna want to read about that story that Gilbert has for you guys. As we talked about earlier, we got homage. Please, if you have anything that you want to give as a present, as a gift, think about giving some homage shirts. They're awesome. They also have some nice hoodies. I was talking to our winner for the big package, and he was telling me that the hoodies are awesome. They're comfortable, and so it's great. It's great to hear from people. If you and if you win, please let us know. We always like the feedback, especially with these kind of giveaways. So it's been great to see, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, definitely check out all the shirts at Homage. But make sure you go through this link here in the description. Easier for you, just click it, and we'll get a little cut from it. So we appreciate all the help. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate you guys viewing, the likes, subscriptions, the comments, all that. So we definitely love to engage here with the House of Horns. And please get us to 500 subscribers. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family just to hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate that. And then we love the comments too, because I saw people telling us Merry Christmas. And that kind of shows you people are good people, and they like our work, and they want us to have a Merry Christmas. And I hope everybody had a good Merry Christmas, and everybody has a good Happy New Year as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, it's been awesome. I saw people wishing me well after I had to leave for the 2 weeks, so that's awesome to see. So we appreciate all the Ram fans, all the subscribers. I think we're up to almost 450, right around there, somewhere around there. So, all right, Gilbert, close us out, man.
Yeah, I could probably ask Rams fans, the listeners here, House of Horns, what was the best moment of 2022? But I already know it. They won the Super Bowl, so that's probably the best year. I know it wasn't the best 2022 season, but they did win the Super Bowl in 2022. So cherish the memories and on to a new year. Happy New Year. Here we go to 2023. Ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.